I love you too. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hi, Mr. Scheer. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Vash.
I appreciate you making the time for the conversation. I know from a statement that you released yesterday that you want Mr. Poilievre to stay on. Has Mr. Poilievre decided that he will?
Absolutely. Pierre is a fighter, and he's doing it for the people who have been left behind for this government. That's really what inspires him. The Liberals have caused so much hardship for people, and we heard those stories across the country. People who are still living in their parents' basements because they can't afford to own a home. People have lost their jobs and their livelihoods because of Liberal anti-energy and natural resource policies. And he's really inspired by those people who are counting on our party to deliver that real change. So we had incredible gains. He led our party to historic highs in every corner of the country, gained seats in every province. We're disappointed that we didn't form the government, but there's a lot to build from here. And Pierre's inspirational leadership got us here, and his continued leadership will be what delivers us a victory next time.
Why did it fail to secure his own seat?
Well, look, I mean, even in his own seat, he saw an increase in votes for himself.
But he lost by 4,000 votes.
No, but when you look at the utter collapse of the NDP, I mean, I come from Saskatchewan, the birthplace of the CCF and Tommy Douglas and all the heroes on the radical left, and they came in third. Every election I've ever fought in since 2004, the NDP were in the low 30s, high 20s. Last time I checked in province-wide, they're 7.5%. So that is at play in a lot of areas. Some of the seats that we weren't successful in, we saw historic gains. We saw massive amounts of new voters. There's a story to be told there about all the new people that Pierre has attracted to our movement. I mean, people who say that some of the criticisms I just heard on the lead into the show, they're just not looking at the facts. The facts are more people voted for us than ever before. We got a higher percentage than ever in the modern conservative history, and we picked up seats that we haven't held in some cases in 20 years. So did we do enough to win? Clearly, we have more work to do. There's another step to this journey, but there's an incredible base of support here that we could not have achieved without Pierre Poilievre's inspirational leadership.
I think you're pointing to comments from Premier Doug Ford in Ontario and Premier Tim Houston in Nova Scotia. And I take your point about all the gains, and I think that's a completely fair comment on what happened. But like you said, it wasn't enough to win. And the Liberals actually increased their share of the popular vote by more than yours did after a record that you've spent 2 years criticizing and gaining in popularity for criticizing. You still couldn't clinch a win after a 10-year record of the Liberal government that you have told Canadians repeatedly is terrible for them. Why is that not about more than just the NDP's failure? Why doesn't responsibility for that lie at Pierre Poilievre's feet?
Well, look, we're going to go through the process of finding out exactly what the campaign got right and what the campaign might have missed, or what the calibration that might need to be addressed going forward. But at the end of the day, when we look, there was a massive shift in the political landscape when Justin Trudeau stepped down, and quite frankly, we had a new Liberal leader that didn't get a lot of scrutiny from the media, didn't get a lot of the same tough questions that Conservatives tend to get, and immediately went into an election campaign. So it drastically shifted the landscape. Obviously, it's our job to win elections as political campaigners and as party systems. We don't do it for ourselves. We do it for those people. We do it for the people who are counting on us. And that's where our disappointment is today, is that there were so many people hoping for that real change. I mean, almost 42% of Canadians were hungry for something completely different. And now Mark Carney is going to go down and double down on all the same policies as Justin Trudeau. So clearly, it's tough after that. But let's not lose sight of the fact that we are in an incredibly stronger position, that we are so much closer than ever before. I think at least, 7.5% more than we got in the last election. Huge gains to build on here. New caucus members from areas that, by the way, are ground zero for being threatened by U.S. tariffs. I mean, we picked up seats in Windsor. We picked up seats in Hamilton. In my riding where we make steel, we held on to all those ridings. All the places in the country where people are directly affected by the threats of U.S. tariffs, forestry, mining, oil and gas, potash, manufacturing, steel, we won those voters. So what we need to do is we need to look at what what is the next step? What is that gap to get the other few percentage points that we need to form government? And that's what we're going to be doing over the next days and weeks.
If I understand you right, though, you're saying it's the fault of, it's basically because of what happened to the NDP. It's the fault of the media. I mean, you have two conservative premiers, with respect, you have two conservative premiers saying it was the strategy employed, that essentially Tim Houston said the Conservatives are pushing more people away than pulling in. These are Conservatives. This isn't me just making it up.
It's just demonstrably false by the facts. The facts are it doesn't make sense.
Why didn't Pierre Poilievre talk to Tim Houston or talk to Doug Ford? Isn't that weird?
You can't simultaneously say we pushed people away when we got more votes. That's just factually incorrect. That doesn't work on a mathematical level. I don't know what else to say. I mean, we got more votes, we got a higher percentage, we won more seats. Clearly, we weren't pushing people away. We reached historic highs. That's just a nonsensical statement that doesn't hold up to a second's worth of scrutiny.
But it's coming from a person who clearly feels like there was no outreach to the people who supported him and to him himself, right?
So supported who?
Tim Houston.
I'm not sure I follow the question.
He's making that statement based on what he has observed in his own experience, which he did. Well, he has said that there was no outreach, for example, from Pierre Poilievre to him.
So has
Doug
feelings
Ford.
Are hurt?
I don't know. I'm just conveying what he said, and I understand what you're saying, but I can't discount what two conservative premiers are saying. Like, Doug Ford is the premier of the most populous province in the country. Like, does what he say not matter at all? Like, if he feels that no outreach was done to him or his supporters, isn't that something to just take stock of?
I just don't believe that's true. And again, we're on this. We're in this not because we were worried about interpersonal relationships with someone like Doug Ford. We're worried about the people in Ontario who are affected by terrible Liberal policies. That's who we are listening to. That's who we're thinking about doing that outreach to and getting them on side and addressing their needs. And I'll point out, Pierre Poilievre got more votes in Ontario than Doug Ford did. Pierre Poilievre got a higher percentage of the vote than Doug Ford did.
Won a third majority.
More people
you have
in
lost
Ontario.
A fourth election.
More people in Ontario wanted Pierre Poilievre to be Prime Minister than wanted Doug Ford to be Premier. That is just the facts. So, do we have some work to do? Do we have to figure out next steps? Obviously, Vashi, we didn't win the election. That hurts, and it hurts for a lot of people who are counting on us, and that is who we are focused on right now. Those people who place their trust in us, the thousands of volunteers, the candidates who put their name on the ballot, the people who have lost their jobs and remortgaged their house to pay for bills. Those are the people that we need to talk to and show that we're still going to keep fighting for them, and that is what Pierre is doing. Ever since Pierre launched his leadership campaign, he has been consistent. He is fighting for those people who are left behind by Ottawa. When Ottawa caters to special interests, when the Liberal government rewards their friends and imposes a crazy ideology. I mean, Mark Carney has written a book extolling the virtues of the carbon tax. He said he's going to keep the carbon tax on the industrial side. That means job losses in places like Regina and Hamilton. So those are the people that Pierre is focused on. I wish Conservatives at other levels around the country would help, would be more cognizant of that it's about the people. It's about the people that they represent as premiers or as other politicians. It's not about settling interpersonal differences. I don't think Canadians care about that. I think Canadians are worried about how they're going to pay their mortgage, how they're going to move out of their home and start their parents' home and start a life for themselves.
But don't Canadians also want to see, for example, somebody who is running to represent all the things you just said, the interests of people who feel left behind? Don't they want to see that person working with other leaders and working towards better outcomes for everyone? You're dismissive of, for example, for the Premier's support in Ontario, he won a third majority mandate. You have failed to win a fourth time around.
As I said, there are dynamics that we have to figure out to make sure that doesn't happen again. But again, more people wanted Pierre Poilievre to be Prime Minister in Ontario than wanted Doug Ford to be Premier. That's just a fact.
But
I'll tell you what Pierre Poilievre
I just feel like it sounds like you guys are in denial that you lost. Like I won, but I lost. Like I don't understand.
Who's denying that?
No.
I'm just saying your prescription is to do something that Premier Ford seems to be asking for. I'm just pointing out that while for sure we have to take a look and take stock and say what do we need to do to win next time. I'm just pointing out that Pierre Poilievre is he's popular. He's more popular in Ontario than Doug Ford is, just based on the votes. Like that's not a subjective opinion. If we just count ballots, that is just an objectively true statement.
Didn't the Liberals win the popular vote though in Ontario?
No. Federal, I'm just saying, when you're talking about popularity, when you're talking about base of support, these are just facts. I'll tell you what Pierre Poilievre didn't do. Pierre Poilievre didn't endorse Bonnie Crombie. Pierre Poilievre didn't praise opponents of Premier Ford and the Ontario PC Party. So, look, I think it's time. What I would say to everybody in Canada, every Conservative, every type of every level, we can all agree that Liberal policies will be bad for Canada. So let's work together. Let's work together. Let's stop this kind of thing, this kind of finger pointing. We will absolutely take a hard look at what decisions were made and why were they made and what data went into making those decisions. What do we need to do to be successful next time? And again, not because we want the blue team in and not because out of our party's sake, but I'll tell you, actually, I knocked on doors in every corner of this country. The despair that people had if the Liberals got another term was real. I mean, we had people weeping, crying, telling us their stories at rallies and on the doorstep. People weren't just saying, we hope you win. They were saying, you gotta win. And that's what's disappointing today, knowing that we weren't successful. And that's what's gonna drive us to put aside all this back and forth with other Conservative politicians. That's what's going to drive Pierre to stay focused on those people and their stories and bring them hope again. So it's early days after the election. There's a lot of work for us to do, but I can tell you that Pierre is fighting and he's driven by that need to restore that hope for Canadians.
Does he feel a responsibility for letting those people down? I remember years ago speaking to you after your loss. You won the popular vote. You lost against a majority government, the Liberal government. You brought them still to a minority, though. He lost the popular vote and couldn't win after a decade of the Trudeau government and 2 minority governments. Like, why was it appropriate for you to step down in that instance, but not for him?
I mean, to compare these results to 2019, I don't even mind saying I was leader in 2019. Pierre was leader this time. Massive gains, actually.
But you won the popular vote.
This is we're in the early days after the election. There is no one that could have built up this team, this platform, other than Pierre. I mean, it's almost like everyone forgets that Justin Trudeau was a popular prime minister with a whole lot of support for his policies. And Pierre, through a systematic litigation of the damage that was doing to Canadians, forced a sitting prime minister who did not want to go to resign. Okay, that's no small accomplishment. So this idea that it was no big deal to go into an election with this kind of footing is just false. It took Pierre's vision, it took Pierre's leadership style to put us in the position that we were. We got 42% of the vote. That's more votes
than. But in January, if I could just say,
Pierre Poilievre got a higher percentage of the vote than Jean Chrétien ever got, than Paul Martin, than Stephen Harper, than Justin Trudeau. So we need to put this in perspective.
But they all won majority governments.
Yeah,
not Paul Martin, but the other ones.
Okay, but clearly, we need to think about a few things about how we fell short and why we fell. No one's here denying that. And my message to those 8 million plus, or around 8 million, I haven't done a recent check, but about 8 million people who voted Conservative hoping for that change. My message is, we get that there is disappointment. We get that we need to figure something else out to win next time. We're not taking that for granted. No one's saying here, that we don't have some work to do to figure that out. But there's an incredible base of support that only Pierre Poilievre could have done for our party, and he's the only person that can continue that and finish the job.
Will he run in a by-election? I mean, I know the government will call the by-election, but is it someone going to step aside in like a so-called safe seat? Like, has that decision been made?
Look, these are early days. It's 2 days after the election. It's something that we'll be addressing going forward. But I can tell you that Pierre is staying on. He's fighting. He's gonna work with our caucus. He's gonna work with our loyal volunteers and our activists to keep the momentum going. And I am very confident that as we get through the difficult days, the next days and weeks, as we figure some of these things out, we're gonna come out the other side with a more united team, with a bigger team, with more representation from more provinces. And Pierre is the man to deliver that victory in the next election.
In the meantime, while he's not in the House, will you be leading the party in the House? Still not decided. Okay, had to check. Okay, Mr. Scheer, thanks for your time. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
Because only in Canada could the story that Anna and I bring to the stage be possible.